versus Liverpool. Concerns from former All Black Peter Alatini about how an early New Zealand return for Richie Mo'unga from Japan next season might impact the side's current playmakers. Alatini says coach Scott Robertson needs to address the situation with his players as rumours swirl.
It would be tough, there's no doubt about that, and I suppose the only thing you could think that will ease him is the transparency in terms of communication.
Four more New Zealand cricketers have sold via the Indian Premier League auction. Glenn Phillips has gone to Gujarat, Mitchell Santner will join Mumbai, and Lockie Ferguson set to play for Punjab. Each went for $406,000. Auckland batter Bevan John Jacobs has been recruited by Mumbai for $61,000. Previous big earners Kane Williamson, Daryl Mitchell and Kyle Jamieson have missed out. An Indian 13-year-old left-hand bat and spinner Vaibhav Suryavanshi has become the youngest selection in the competition's history, picked up by Rajasthan for $223,000. I'm Andrew Alderson, and that's News Talk ZB News and Sport with Guardian Seal, powered by Roof Buddy. Seal your roof, don't paint it. It's 10:05.
News Talk ZB Auckland. Time saver traffic.
Yamaha portable outboards from $899 only. The Southern Motorway city-bound very heavy from Highbrook. That's due to a crash blocking the right-hand lane. Southbound, it is slow from the base of the Harbour Bridge due to an earlier breakdown at Mountain Road, which is now clear. Then you're going to hit traffic from Green Lane through to the southeastern. Lightweight, compact, reliable. Contact your local Yamaha dealer and get yourself a Yamaha portable outboard. Time saver traffic.
News Talk ZB Weather Watch 24/7 with Panasonic Fire TVs. Bonus gift on now. For the Manukau and Waitemata harbours, the southwesterly of 10 knots, rising to 15 this afternoon and evening. Hauraki Gulf, southwest 15, easing to 10 this morning and again this afternoon. And Bream Head to Cape Colville, southwest 10, but 15 about the channel, easing to variable 5 this afternoon and evening. The next high tide at Auckland, 4:45 this evening, and for Onehunga, it's 8:10 tonight. Mostly cloudy with isolated showers for Auckland today. Southwesterlies, high 21, dropping back to 16 overnight. Tomorrow, cloud clearing, becoming fine in the afternoon with southwesterlies and a high of 22. And to Thursday, mainly fine, southwesterlies becoming fresh. Right now in Auckland, it's 19 degrees.
Talk back with Chris Hipkins on Kerre Woodham Mornings with pinnaclelife.co.nz. Easy online life insurance. Call 0800 80 1080. News Talk ZB. This is News Talk ZB Breaking News.
Former National Party Minister Nikki Kay has died. Nikki Kay was diagnosed with cancer in 2016 and served as MP for the Auckland Central electorate from 2008 until 2020. In January 2013, she was appointed to Cabinet by Prime Minister John Key. She also served as Deputy Leader of the National Party and Deputy Leader of the Opposition from May 2020 to July 2020. Former colleague Maggie Barry has posted a tribute on Facebook saying, "Farewell, my friend." Just repeating, former National Party Minister Nikki Kay has died. News Talk ZB, 10:07. Leader of the Opposition Chris Hipkins coming up next.
You might not be able to find that post-it note you wrote your password on, but finding the best music, radio and podcasts is easy.
Buying or selling gold or silver? Deal with the company that has a solid reputation. Regal Bullion. Trading for over 40 years and primary distributor for the Perth Mint. Regal Bullion. 0800 881 888.
Get ready for world-class tennis, food, fun and entertainment in the ASB Classic. Superstars like Naomi Osaka, Ben Shelton, our own Lulu Sun and more. Get your tickets now at asbclassic.co.nz, where legends and future stars collide.
Gentlemen, is your performance in the bedroom letting you down? Here's some good news. Introducing Caruso's Erectomate. Caruso's Erectomate is a unique herbal and nutritional formula designed for men to support a healthy libido, stamina and sexual function. So gentlemen, if you'd like to support your performance and reignite the passion in the bedroom, try Caruso's Erectomate today. Caruso's Erectomate comes with a 100% money-back guarantee. Available only from Chemist Warehouse. Read the label and use as directed. Caruso's Health Sydney.
In 1960, Metropolitan Rentals hired out the very first minibus in Auckland. It was a Fordson van with a wooden bench in the back. It wasn't exactly comfortable, but it got you there. 60-odd years later, the Fordson is gone. But Metropolitan Rentals is still here. Nowadays, they have compact 11-seaters, deluxe 14 and 21-seaters, even 25-seat coaches, and just about any other vehicle you might need.
Metropolitan Rentals.
If you mean business, subscribe to Business Desk. Your deep dive into the markets, the economy, finance, and the New Zealand business community. Whether you're a business owner or corporate professional, Business Desk gives you the knowledge you need to make informed decisions to stay ahead in market. Subscribe now at businessdesk.co.nz.
There's no place like your own home, and that's where you should be able to stay. Private Care NZ can support you to live independently in the comfort of home. Their team of highly trained professionals can tailor a care plan to fit your particular needs, with flexible options from as little as 1 hour a week to full-time care. Live life your way with Private Care NZ. Contact Private Care NZ today on 0800 55 5588 or privatecare.co.nz.
Your trusted home for news and views.
Things aren't moving at the pace they should be, or more importantly, need to be. More. Our correction system doesn't correct people. Last year it spent, we learnt this week, $400 million of our money on rehab programs.
Why is that not printed everywhere? Why isn't that not on YouTube?
We need money in this country. We need a vision, and we haven't quite got that from this government yet.
Every view from every angle. News Talk ZB.
News Talk ZB, 11 past 10. Leader of the Opposition, Chris Hipkins, joins me for our last catch-up for the year, and sad news to start.
Really sad news, actually. I just heard about Nikki Kay as I was coming into the studio this morning, and Nikki and I both arrived at Parliament at the same time. We had a lot of common interests. I think you could probably say we were frenemies for the time that we were in Parliament. You know, opponents, but we actually got on well together, and we both had a passion for education and probably agreed on education more than we disagreed, actually. I thought Nikki was a really passionate member of Parliament. Very diligent, did her research, liked to know what she was talking about, didn't rush to decisions until she'd actually done the analysis of understanding the situation. So I was very, very sad. I haven't been in touch with her for a few years, and I hadn't realised that her cancer was back. So yeah, a bit of a shock this morning.
Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed her too. Whenever I caught up with her, she was jolly hard-working and, as you say, completely passionate about education. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think you've got to hand it to her. She took the Auckland Central seat off Labour and held it through quite a range of different electoral cycles.
Yeah.
And she did that through sheer hard work.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
You've really got to acknowledge somebody who just puts their heart and soul into that. And even when the tide went out for National, she held on to her seat. And I think that is because she worked so damn hard.
Yeah, she was a jolly good electorate MP and a very good minister. Right. CGT, it's just not going to go away.
I think we do need to have this honest conversation as a country about saying we can't, we're going to have to, government's going to have to pay for everything somehow, whether it's more roads you want to build, whether it's the health system, whether it's the education system. Government has to get money from somewhere. And if you compare New Zealand to other countries around the world, we get a much greater share as a government of our money from personal income tax compared to other countries. So about 70% of government tax revenue comes from personal income taxes. The OECD average is a lot lower than that. It's probably about half of that. And that's because we don't have other forms of tax like capital gains, which is very common. I think New Zealanders, it's a fascinating debate about capital gains tax in New Zealand. We've been talking about it the whole time I've been a parliamentarian, and it's almost like this big radical idea. Actually, we're one of the few countries in the world that doesn't have some form of taxation in that area.
And yet you could have introduced a capital gains tax. You had senior ministers who'd worked very hard on a capital gains tax proposal, but you didn't accept that.
Well, Jacinda had said in 2020 that we wouldn't introduce a capital gains tax.
Why was she so hard-ass on that? Because I know Winston Peters stuck his oar in, but she didn't have to be quite so vehement.
Yeah, and look, I mean, plenty of internal debate about that.
Jacinda.
Yeah, well, I do think that when you take over from someone mid-term, you can't just change the commitments that you campaigned on. Ultimately, we were elected on that commitment in 2020, and I don't think I had a mandate to change that.
And the proposal stop you in other areas.
The proposal, well, like if anything, I was dialing scaling back some of the things that we hadn't campaigned on. But, you know, the proposal that was developed in the run-up to the 23 election was not a capital gains tax, it was a wealth tax. And that's a more complicated area.
Yes, it is.
You know, capital gains tax is an area where we are an international outlier in not having one. A wealth tax we would be one of the only countries in the world to have one. So I think those are different things.
Okay, Tony, a very good morning to you.
Yes, good morning, Kerre. Good morning, Mr. Hipkins. Just a quick question. If you were returned to government, would you keep the gang patch ban? And if not, why not?
That's interesting. I had a text from Christopher who was asking much the same thing.
Oh, the Prime Minister could just ask me across the house. But look, it's not something that we would change. You know, wouldn't have been a priority for me, but it's not something we're going to go back on. Ultimately, once it's done, as far as I'm concerned.
There you go. Pretty strong answer there. A lot of people have said that fine to take tax, but there has to be an accord between the government and the taxpayers. There has to be a trust that you're going to spend it wisely. And I think with a lot of the big spending projects that amounted to little, Labor's lost a bit of that trust with the electorate.
I think that's a fair point, and I think that it's one of the reasons you can't talk about tax in isolation. You know, whenever you talk about tax, you've got to talk about what you want to do with it, but you've also got to talk about how you grow the economy so that you can ultimately, you know, so that it doesn't become such a heavy burden for people. And all of those things are interrelated. So at the moment, our tax system, if you like, disincentivises hard work, but, you know, people going out and earning salary and wages, and incentivises speculative investment. And I think we need to tilt that. We need to actually say, rather than in speculative investment, let's invest in the productive part of the economy. What are the things that are encouraging? And I understand this. I know plenty of people who have bought rental houses because actually all the incentives is a good way of saving money. It's a good way of, you know, putting funds aside for your retirement is to buy a rental house. But that's not going to make us richer as a country, whereas building businesses that create good, well-paying jobs, that's the sort of stuff we actually need to see more of. So how do we just tilt the investment playing field so that people feel like they want to put more money, more of their hard-earned savings, into things that are actually going to generate better jobs? And so all of these things are interrelated. You can't just say we're going to tax this and spend it on that. It's more complicated than that.
A lot of people have also asked how you would grow the economy. Labor's, you know, and that's the old trope that, you know, Labor's good at spending money, National's good at you know, being sensible husbands of other people's money. So how would you grow the economy? Because a lot of small business operators said that they were really strangled by red tape, by the extra holidays, and I get that you have to look after workers, but when you're talking about growing the economy, how do you do that without strangling it?
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I understand the public perception, but actually if you look at the numbers, over the last 25 years or so, the economy's actually grown slightly, marginally faster under Labor governments than under National governments. So that doesn't actually stack up in terms of the real world. But I get that that's the perception. The perception, I think, is National are business people, therefore they must understand the economy better. Actually, the numbers, the evidence, the track record does not bear that out.
Is that taking into account global financial crises, earthquakes, pandemics and the like? Is that like for like?
Well, yes, because I mean, the National Party had the global financial crisis, we had the global pandemic. You know, there are economic shocks any government's going to experience. But I think, how do we grow the economy? We have to diversify the economy. That is one of the key ways we're going to grow the economy. There's only so many cows we can put on our paddocks. There's only so many trees we can plant. If we want to be richer, we're going to have to do different things. We're going to have to grow our creative sector. You know, Paul Callaghan, all those years ago, wrote that book From Wool to Weta. We're still having that debate now. You know, it's about, and which is a great example. Zero is a great example. Ian Taylor's Animation Research Limited. These are kind of areas where we've used something different that we've offered, some innovation, some ingenuity. The question is, how do we get 50 of those companies rather than the half dozen that we might rattle off now?
Well, when I went to a dinner for the Centre for Brain Research, and that is a centre of excellence globally. You know, that's not just very good for New Zealand.
Oh, but there's some amazing innovations. A couple of weeks ago here in Auckland, I went and visited a company called Kerre Technologies. They have developed the world's first AI sign language dictionary. So basically now they can do voice to text to sign, all done digitally. And that's amazing technology, and we're one of the first places in the world to do it. Isn't that awesome? Those are the sorts of businesses we should say, hey, let's take this to the world. What do we need to do to back those businesses to really grow?
Well, what happens is generally that a lot of these very clever people and entrepreneurs get grants, then they get to a certain size and then they sell. They have to sell to grow. But we don't see, as a taxpayer, we don't see a return on investment in either the money that was given or jobs or ongoing, opportunity.
I've been speaking to a lot of these businesses and they talk about what's called the valley of death. So basically between, getting an idea that's going to grow a business, that's going to create a business, whether it's a new product you want to launch, a new service or whatever, through to getting that to the point where you can attract equity to people to invest in it, there is this thing called the valley of death. So it's basically, how do you get to the point where investors are going to say, that's a business that's going somewhere, I want to be part of that. There's a valley that we have to be able to bridge for those businesses, and I think government can play a role here, of course. But it's not just about government putting money in; it's about government making sure that the investment approach for the country is right, so that those investors, and think about the billions of dollars that we've got in KiwiSaver, for example. Most of it is invested offshore. Let's get some more of that invested in Kiwi businesses. That's where government can play a role in making sure that all of those sorts of things can happen.
By directing,
certainly not by directing, but by making sure that there are opportunities for those companies to invest in those businesses.
Tax again, Neville. Good morning to you.
Oh, good morning, thank you. Good morning, Chris. I just wonder whether or not I don't mind paying a fair tax, and I think most Kiwis are in the same boat as myself. But would Labor, if they got back into power, consider raising the tax rate for Iwi, Maori identities and businesses, because they're only paying 17.5%, where the rest of us are paying upwards of 30 to 39%, businesses paying 30%, 39%, and these Iwi and Maori organisations own farms, fisheries, forestry, and tourism attractions and operations, and the rest of us are supporting them. So
do you also mean you'd include charitable organisations as well, Neville, like Sanitarium?
Well, I think that sort of comes into it too. Look, I think we all need to have a look at a fair tax system. But when some parts of the community are only paying 17.5%, and the rest of us are paying huge amounts of tax, surely, and both parties have dropped the ball on this. And good on the Maori identities for organising this with their land settlements, but. Come on, it's got to be fair for all of us.
I think the tax system does need to be fair, and I do think there are anomalies in the tax system now when it comes to charities that are doing commercial business. Sanitarium is an example of that, where you've got they say they're a charity, but actually they're running one of the biggest and most popular brands, commercial brands in New Zealand, and we do need to look again at that. In terms of iwi, I think that we do need to distinguish between those that are purely business entities. Many of those iwis do now have business entities that are trading commercially.
Very successful
and charitable entities. So I think it is the same debate, and we do need to make sure we're being fair and we're being equal in the way we treat those entities.
And so, would you change the tax system to show that?
I think we've got to look at a clearer definition of what's a charitable purpose, and that would apply to an iwi business as much as to a business like Sanitarium.
Well, good luck if you're in coalition with Te Pāti Māori getting that one passed. News Talk ZB, it's 10:22.
Buddy up for lunch with a Subway double deal. Not one, but two deliciously fresh foot-long subs, 2 ice-cold 600ml drinks, and 2 gooey cookies. Order now at Subway. T's and C's apply.
The Chemist Warehouse Black Friday sale is on now. Find huge savings store-wide, like up to 50% off the Sanderson range, or a massive 45% off the L'Oreal Paris skincare range. But hurry, the Chemist Warehouse Black Friday sale must end Sunday, 1st of December. T's and C's apply.
Hey business owners, do you need funds to support your cash flow this festive season? Prosper's got your back with fast, flexible funding options. You can apply online in less than 10 minutes, with funding possible in hours. Whether you need funds to stock up, hire extra staff, or simply cover cash flow gaps, it's the season to get funded with Prosper. Visit prosper.co.nz today. That's PROSPA. T's and C's and standard credit criteria apply.
See cherry blossom in Japan in 2025 on our fully inclusive tours. Get in quick before you miss out. Travel through Japan by bullet train, see snow monkeys and immerse yourself in ancient traditions, while your guides make sure you have an experience of a lifetime. For a limited time, partners fly for free and solo travellers save 50% off single supplements on selected Wendiwoo Tours fully inclusive unique itineraries. Visit wendiwootours.co.nz or see your local travel professional. T's and C's apply.
Hi, I'm Anna. Murph is my best mate. Murphy is a spoodle. He got really sick last year. He got pancreatitis twice. He was having all sorts of tests and the vet bills were horrendous, but I mean, you can't put a price on your pet, right? So thank goodness I had Pet Insure. The insurance is essential. In fact, I wouldn't even get a pet without getting pet insurance. It's just irresponsible.
Phone Pet Insure. 0800 367 444.
Motorhome.
Holiday.
Motorhome.
Holiday.
Have the best of both worlds with RV Supercenter's Great Aussie Getaway promotion. Get up to an 8K Aussie holiday on selected motorhomes. Visit RV Supercenter at 13 Manutapu Drive today for incredible deals on the largest range of New Zealand new, used and European motorhomes. All ready for your summer adventures. It's RV Supercenter's Great Aussie Getaway promotion. Hurry, get in quick, this promotion ends soon. T's and C's apply.
Auckland, 89.4 FM. Kerre Woodham Mornings. Engaging conversation on News Talk ZB.
Is the number to call. So if you would like to put your question to Chris Hipkins, the Leader of the Opposition, now is your time to do so. 0800 80 1080. Question for Chris. Surely a wealth tax and potentially a capital gains tax would be charged back to tenants as landlords seek to maintain post-tax returns. Rents would go up again under Labour. What would you do to offset the higher rent? Isn't that something that Australia's looking at too? The Greens there is saying, look, the capital gains tax is hitting renters.
Well, anything that you do around tax, you've got to look at when it's charged. So a capital gains tax, typically you would only charge that on the realisation of the capital gain. And that is one of the problems with a wealth tax, is if you charge somebody a wealth tax based on the book value of something, that money still has to come from somewhere. And if they haven't realised any income from it at that point, then that cost ultimately is likely to be transferred on. So if you're a farmer, for example, and you owned a farm that was above the wealth tax value, that doesn't necessarily mean you're flush with cash. So, you might be when you sell it, but you're not when you're farming it. And so that is one of the, I think, challenges in the wealth tax area. And it is one, but also, I think anything in the wealth tax space, you have to look at what's happening around the world there. You can't, New Zealand, I think, would be very bold to do something completely in isolation from the rest of the world because, as we know, wealth is very mobile. Yeah. And it will likely move to the places where it won't pay that.
It's interesting, though, too, when you talk about farmers and when you talk about small and medium business owners, of which this country has many. I caught up with an old schoolmate and they have been working now on the stud farm for about, it must be 30 years. In the last 3 years, they've had disposable income. Everything has gone back into the business and this is the story of so many business owners. When they realise their wealth, quite often they're taking wages and earnings that they have deferred until they sell.
And that's right, and the tax system needs to consider that too. And also, think about something like farms. We've got a real challenge in New Zealand around farms. I've been talking to the farmers quite a lot lately, as you might have heard.
How's the reception?
It's been really good. But, there's some challenges with farmers. Like, for example, those who are in farming now and have been for 40-odd years have made a certain capital gain on their farms. The next generation of farmers are unlikely to make that same level of capital gain. And so that changes the economic dynamics for the next generation of farmers who are looking at taking over farms now. And I don't think that's something we've really grappled with as a country. And those farmers who are nearing retirement are wanting to bank their capital gains. But the next generation of farmers are saying, well, if we can't count on a similar level of capital gain in the future, then actually it's going to be really hard for us to buy the farms. So I think these are things that, I know the farming community is talking a lot about those sorts of things at the moment.
Kevin, relevant question for you to Chris Hipkins then, on that note?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Hipkins. Thanks for taking my question. Look, I've been previously a strong Labour supporter, and 6 years ago when you came in, albeit after 2 or 3 changes at the top, and I appreciate you weren't PM then, you'd had a period in opposition benches, and yet when you were successful, it appeared as if you'd done no homework or anything in terms of policy and the like. You've since said quite recently that you'll look at things like taxing of charities and this and that. What does look at them mean? Is there work going on today so that in 2 years' time when you get to Parliament again, will things been done, or will we need to spend billions on consultants again?
Oh, that's good, Kevin. You asked that better than I could. And I think that's a really fair question.
I think it's a really good question, Kevin, and a really fair one. I think in some areas we were well prepared, and in some areas we were not well prepared. And I think that's a fair criticism. And then, of course, COVID-19 disrupted some of the preparation that we had done in some areas. Some of the promises we made, I think, hadn't been properly researched and thought through. So Kiwi Builders, perhaps the most iconic example, gets thrown at us all the time, promising to build 100,000 houses and not having a credible plan for how to actually do that, I think was a major failing of us in opposition last time. So, I mean, looking to the future, I think, which I think is where your question was going, I've said that next election, when we make a promise, I want us to have done the research, the work behind it. I want us to know how much it's going to cost, how we're going to deliver it, what the milestones in delivery are going to be, so that we're not making promises that we can't fulfil and we're not creating expectations that we can't meet. I do think, I think some of it was overstated, but I think that it's not an unfair criticism.
So I guess Kevin's saying, when can we see hard policy and costings?
Well, of course, those things take time, and they take longer in opposition because you don't have the same level of resource that you have when you're in government.
But you've just had it. You've just had 6 years of it.
The world changes regularly, but we are going to, we'll start rolling out new policy next year.
If you're going to mention COVID, I'm going to mention last administration.
Oh, sure.
Oh, seriously. I mean, when you say, we need a capital gains tax, I'm like, you were there. You could have done it.
Yeah, and we said we weren't. I also believe that you have to keep faith with the promises that you make with the electorate, and we said that we weren't going to implement a capital gains tax. So I don't think you can do things that and that was also a criticism of us, that in some areas it's not that we said we wouldn't do them, it's that we didn't tell people we were going to do them. And I think that there was criticism of us in that area, and some of that was also fair.
I think Barbara Edmonds should always talk about tax from henceforth. Just a little bit of communications advice there for you.
Barbara's doing a fantastic job.
She is doing a fantastic job. News Talk ZB 10:31.
News Talk ZB Auckland. Time saver traffic.
Hyperdrive Black Friday sale is on right now. The Southern Motorway, you're going to hit traffic just after Highbrook. Our earlier crash at the southeastern, which was blocking the right-hand lane, has been cleared. Southbound, it is moderate through Green Lane. The northern citybound slow at Upper Harbour. Get 25% off selected tyres with Hyperdrive's Black Friday sale. Ivanka Zonich for time saver traffic and travel.
Looking for luxury lighting and furniture at unbeatable prices? Visit ECC Outlet in Grafton, conveniently located just across from our Auckland showroom at 57 Boston Road. The ECC Outlet is open Wednesday till Saturday from 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. With ex-floor stock and end-of-line goods, our outlet offers some of the world's best designer lighting and furniture at incredible discounts. Visit ECC Outlet at 57 Boston Road, Grafton, or shop online at outlet.ecc.co.nz.
Imagine a future where every disease has a cure, where your health choices today shape the breakthroughs of tomorrow. Pacific Clinical Research Network are a team of doctors and nurses dedicated to improving global health by delivering safe and ethical clinical trials. Whether you're healthy or living with a condition, your participation is vital to help in their mission. Together, we can pave the way for new advancements and cures. So, sign up today at clinicaltrials.co.nz. Your health, your impact, our future.
You're looking for somewhere special to build your new home, but everywhere feels the same. What would an artist do? They'd surround themselves with natural beauty, beaches, fellow artists, winemakers and foodies. They'd design their own dream home that'd be crafted, not built. Create your dream home at Warkworth Ridge, the centre of Auckland's artisan region. Sections start at $495,000. Search Warkworth Ridge for more.
Celebrate Christmas at Sky City.
Sky City Premier Awards members can take part in the Festive Surprises promotion with over $240,000 in prizes that must be won before December 21st. While you're there, dine at world-class restaurants, enjoy spectacular entertainment, or make it a staycation at one of Sky City's premium hotels. Don't miss your chance to win big this festive season. Search Celebrate Christmas at Sky City for details. R20. Game responsibly.
News Talk ZB headlines.
With Blue Bubble taxis, it's no trouble with a blue bubble. Former National Party Minister Nikki Kay has died aged 44. A close friend has told our newsroom she died at the weekend after a long battle with cancer. They say she was in great form a few months ago, but went quickly downhill. Kay served as an MP for the Auckland Central electorate from 2008 until 2020. A person's been seriously injured following a paragliding accident at Christchurch's beachside suburb of Sumner. Emergency services were called to the Summit Road just before 9 last night. The Ministry of Education's considering its options to get maths resources into the country as fast as possible. Some schools won't have their maths resources delivered by the start of Term 1 next year, when new curriculum on structured mathematics starts. The government isn't revealing the cost of a new Central Auckland police station or a specific time of completion. Black Caps face the end of an era in Brendan McCullum's England return. Read more on that story at NZ Herald Premium. Back to Kerre Woodham.
Thank you very much, Malcolm. It is 24 minutes to 11. Wow, how catty you sound. I think that's for me.
Oh.
It's not.
I was going to say, goodness me.
Could be either one of us.
Either one of us. You never know.
No, it's probably me. Scott, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Kerry. Thanks for taking my call today. Good morning to you, Chris, as well.
Morning.
I just wanted to ask, Chris, how you feel about the Te Pāti Māori doing the haka in Parliament during the hikoi. Surely you must feel the same about it as National does on the rules of Parliament.
Well, I think, the rules, we have to be consistent in the application of the rules of Parliament. And the issue here with the haka is I think we do need to figure out as a Parliament when the haka is allowable and when it's not, because we do allow for the haka regularly in Parliament. So it's regularly done at the end of people's speeches. It's regularly done at the opening of Parliament and so on. I think it's time for us probably to have a conversation about when it should and shouldn't be allowed. We need to involve Māori in that conversation.
I think they'd like to be included.
I think they would like to be included. But because, ultimately, I don't think you can appropriate someone's culture and then say, but we only want it when it's convenient to us. So I think we should be upfront about that.
Te Pāti Māori as a coalition partner, you're going to need them and the Greens. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's early days yet, Kerry, but I think let's see how things shape up closer to the election in terms of what the parties campaign on and what their positions on issues are on. I remember the Māori Party took some pretty radical positions between 2005 and 2008 and then spent 9 years supporting John Key and Bill English in government and were very pragmatic and sort of quite middle of the road and sensible during that time. So I've said, in the run-up to an election, we'd be clear about who we can and can't work with, and we'll do the same thing we did last election. We'll make sure everybody knows that before the election, but I think it's too soon to make those calls yet.
Alrighty. Andrew, good morning to you.
Good morning. Chris, I'd like to talk about accountability in the public service. And the two examples that I'll lean on are the Dunedin Hospital. So we have a cost blowout of going from 300 million to going to 400 million. And then it's been stated, and that number will double. In the public service, people would be prosecuted for those sorts of blowouts. And now also I'd like to talk about $1.2 billion spent on mental health in your term and no tangible outcome. Where is accountability of that? Surely somebody, without wanting to paint too broad a brush, should be going to jail. All that money, my money and your money and everybody else's money that we're talking to, has been squandered. So what's your view on that, and what do you propose to do about it?
So if you take something like the building of Dunedin Hospital, a lot of building and construction projects have seen huge cost escalation, not just in the public sector, but in the private sector too. I mean, just around the corner from here, look at the cost of the convention centre. It ended up being way, way higher than what they started out with. It had a fire, but the cost had already blown out even before the fire. And I mean, maybe that's not a good example because of the effect of the fire, but you'll find that in building and construction everywhere, and that's not unique to the public sector. On the issues of mental health, some of the investments you make in mental health, you don't see an immediate return on. So over 1 million counselling sessions have been delivered through that funding. You don't immediately see a benefit from that. Training more mental health professionals, which is where a lot of that money ended up being invested, that gets you the workforce that you need to improve mental health outcomes in the longer term. Putting more money into schools to support, counselling and mental health support for kids. You don't always see that, a return on that straight away. I think that's one of the challenges with mental health. It's one of the most complex areas of government policy to try and get better outcomes for Kiwis. There's so much in there that can have an impact on people's mental health. And yet under the Clark government, families, patients and the community were promised that when institutions were disestablished, there would be that support in the community, and we simply haven't seen that. I think it's too simplistic to say it's just that. I mean, I think there are there's addiction issues as well. There are people desperate to get help with addictions. The people who were sort of institutionalised, that would be at the extreme end of mental health distress. What we're seeing a lot more of now is stuff that wouldn't have traditionally resulted in institutionalisation. That's why they closed them, a lot of it too. I mean, they were expensive, but also because they shouldn't have been there. They could have been in the community with the appropriate help. Absolutely. But a lot of the mental health crisis that we're facing at the moment is amongst young people, and it is just, the world has changed so much. The stresses, the strains that they deal with, the online, the online bullying, it's real. It's very real. Young people's expectations of themselves also, I mean, far out, let's just all take a step back here and say, let's give these kids a break. I go and do school prize givings, and it's not uncommon to speak to kids who have won all these awards and done all these amazing things, and they're the captain of this and they're the whatever, and you talk to them and they're like, oh, I don't think I'm doing enough. And you're like, far out, give yourself a break, and that's the pressure that young people are feeling. But then you have to look too at the effect that the school's been closed for 2 years, and not all over the country, but in many parts of the country. I know you said, at one point as Minister of Education, getting the schools open was a priority for you, yet for a lot of the time they weren't. The damage that's been done to those kids is only going to be realised over the next few years. We had some of the lowest levels of school closures as a result from COVID-19 anywhere in the world. So this is a phenomenon that's experiencing. It doesn't matter. We're starting to see, I'm talking about New Zealand and trying to get an educated workforce and a healthy workforce and a workforce that can participate and talk to other people from across generations. The damage that has been done, I mean, I don't think you can sheet all of that back to COVID, though. I do think COVID had an impact. I'm saying I'm sheeting it home to school closures. And I wouldn't sheet it home all to school closures either. I think technology's had an impact. I think the way we live has had an impact. Well, isn't it good that National introduced a ban on phones at school? That seems to have worked. Even principals who were against it say it's a good idea. And I'm fine with it. You'll keep that. I mean, at the senior secondary end, we might give the schools a bit more flexibility to make choices about when they allow for digital devices, but certainly primary schools, I don't think that we should have those digital devices in primary schools. And secondary and intermediate, schools. Junior secondary. Yeah. I think it's just once you get to things like exams and all that, you've got to make some calls about when phones should and shouldn't be allowed. I think the kids coming up, like the 5, 6, 7-year-olds, are going to be okay, because those poor kids that came before them, society's experimented on them and knows what doesn't work. A lot of primary schools already had the, cell phone bans in place. My kids' schools always had a digital device ban. But that's what I mean. Parents know not to give them until at least they're 17, 18 now, and there'll be a collective agreement amongst parents not to. It's one of those things, though, where you're always going to be rushing to keep up, because actually the latest guidance home from my kids' school is watches, no digital smart watches, because more kids were showing up with those. Yeah. And I'm kind of like, oh, really? I wouldn't give my kids one of those at that age. I think we've just got to, we're going to have to keep working to keep up with it. But there's also other issues. I'm watching closely what's happening in Australia with the social media ban for the under-16s. Lots of bumps in the road there. It was kind of good that the Aussies are doing it, because we can learn from what they're doing. But I do think we've got to look at this space, because it's about educational achievement. It's also about mental health. There's so many things that connect here.
Just very quickly, and I know my producers are screaming for a break, but when it comes to bullying, as leader of the opposition, as the senior, could you call off the dogs on Karen Shaw's bullying? I find that one of the most upsetting things I've seen in Parliament is that she is specifically targeted because she's female and because she's Māori but not Māori enough for some people in Parliament. She is trying to do a really good job coming from a background that is unique among parliamentarians. It would be great to see a sign of leadership where you just go, no, personal attacks are enough.
I think we have to draw a clear line between accountability and personal attacks.
Absolutely.
Where our MPs have overstepped that line. Calvin Davis did that, several years ago. And I called that out and I said, no, that's not okay. And he needed to go and apologise, and he did. Because I think ministers...
But it's ongoing.
But ministers should be held accountable. But I think there needs to be a very clear line. And I think that personal attacks and personal denigration should not happen.
Yeah, and that's across the board.
Yep.
But it just seems she in particular, because it's such a highly charged portfolio, it will never be right, whoever's in charge of it. But it's just, she's not Māori enough, she's not female enough, she's not...
I think the children's portfolio is a really tough one. And actually, if you look at when Tracy Martin had it, when Calvin Davis had it, they were also subject to some pretty intense scrutiny because of what was happening. But not the personal attacks we've seen. Well, no, I don't think that's true, actually. I think when it comes to kids, it does get pretty personal.
News Talk ZB, it's 11:15.
Platinum Home's new high-performance show home, now open at 99 YY Drive, Milldale. Feel the difference of a high-performance home and experience the future of living. platinumhomes.co.nz. Everything you call home. Platinum Homes.
It's nearly knockoff time for ITM's Toolbox Top-Up Sale. Don't miss out on hot deals and exclusive offers from Makita, Milwaukee, Haikoki, DeWalt and more. Sale ends November 30 at your local ITM. T's and C's apply.
Gentlemen, is your performance in the bedroom letting you down? Here's some good news. Introducing Caruso's Erectomate. Caruso's Erectomate is a unique herbal and nutritional formula designed for men to support a healthy libido, stamina and sexual function. So gentlemen, if you'd like to support your performance and reignite the passion in the bedroom, try Caruso's Erectomate today. Caruso's Erectomate comes with a 100% money-back guarantee. Available only from Chemist Warehouse. Read the label and use as directed. Caruso's Health Sydney.
Ashley and Martin's frequently asked questions.
Hey, so can you treat thinning hair in women too?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And like men, women who get treated earlier tend to see better results.
Oh, so who's the best at getting treated earlier then, men or women?
Oh, well,
Come on, who is it?
It's not a competition.
It's women, isn't it?
Well, make today your turning point and visit ashleyandmartin.co.nz.
Yeah, definitely women.
Yes, it is.
Your nest egg. How big could your nest egg grow? Invest with FMT, where your nest egg is protected and nurtured like it's their own, which they did with an annualised 7.44% per annum pre-tax return for the last quarter. Talk to the friendly and nest egg nurturing team today on 0800 321 113. Past performance isn't a reliable indicator of future performance. First Mortgage Managers Limited is the issuer. For the PDSs, visit fmt.co.nz.
Tune into Rudolph Radio and use the talkback mic on the iHeartRadio app to send a message to the North Pole, just like this.
Santa, can I please have a Bitsy was a Bitsy case? Thank you.
I'll be listening 24/7 and will let my little elves know, and we'll get right to work. Rudolph Radio, the North Pole's #1 hit music station.
Chris Hipkins taking your calls on 0800 80 1080 on Kerre Woodham Mornings with Pinnacle Life. Get a life insurance quote in just 30 seconds. News Talk ZB.
News Talk ZB. Brett, last question from you.
Yeah, hi Kerre, hi Chris. I'm calling up about the defence policy and Labor's defence policy, and given the world we live in now with 2 land wars going on and potentially a third, hopefully not too far away, the state of the New Zealand Defence Force, while we've got some good kit, we've got large amounts of it, and nor have we got large amounts of person power. You know, why can't we have a given it's so serious, it's such a serious topic, why can't we have a bipartisan approach to defence so these big capital spends can occur over a long time and we can build up our defence force?
That would make sense, wouldn't it? Because whenever there is a war, it is a bipartisan approach, isn't it?
One of the challenges, the bipartisan approach in New Zealand towards defence for the last 30 or 40 years has been to sort of just pretend that we can continue to sweat the old assets that we've got and not invest in them. And a lot of that has just reached the point where you just can't anymore. So in government, over the last 6 years, we replaced the Orions, we replaced the Hercules because they literally had just run out of life. The Manawanui was one of the ships that we purchased during that time, sadly now at the bottom of the ocean. But I do think, there is a case for capital investment in our defence force. Judith Collins, I actually spoke to her about this last night at the dinner that we were at last night, and I said, look, whatever you do with your defence force capability review, make sure you come and talk to us about that, because these are assets that have in many cases a 30-year life. They're going to cost a lot of money, so let's actually be constructive about doing that. But can I also just make one other point, which is not just about the assets? I think your question was touching on this. You've got to have the crew for those assets as well. We've actually got a number of naval ships tied up at the moment because we have the ships, but we just don't have the crew to actually get them out there.
I think there's real issues with their pay and with housing. And
there's a combination of pay, housing. Also, we've just been through a very low unemployment, labour market boom where people, particularly the tradies who work in the Defence Force, could get really good money by leaving the Defence Force and going into the private sector. With the economy turning down, unemployment going up, it'll be interesting to see whether that changes. But I do think there's a case for us putting more money into the pay of our defence people. And also, just a final point, promise, is defence isn't just about defence either. When we look at what we ask our Defence Force to do, there's an awful lot of natural disaster recovery, there's an awful lot of international aid, those sorts of things, and we need to make sure that we're recognising that.
Interest tax deductibility, Jamie, you have a question for Chris?
Yeah, just quickly, a couple of questions. Morning, both of you. The regressive tax put in place with basically no notice back in 21 for the Ma and Pa landlords. What was the thinking with regard to that, given 80% of the rentals are provided by the private sector, and has always been the case? And secondly, wouldn't the state want people less dependent on state and retirement, therefore having one or two investment properties for retirement, which 80% of the landlords have in this country? Wouldn't that be a good thing? And then you could look at means testing the retirement pension based on asset base that the family holds. It would make no sense for someone like Graham Hart to get a $500 pension a week. Your thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a lot in that question. Thank you. But just working backwards through them, I think one of the challenges with saying that, retirement rental properties should be the default retirement savings is that's okay if you've got equity and you can afford to have several houses. If you can't even afford to buy one house, then actually when you get to retirement, you're going to be in a really disadvantaged position compared to everybody else. So I do think that we shouldn't give up on the dream of home ownership for as many New Zealanders as possible. So we've got to make sure that we've got, a policy around, rental, domestic property that's still prioritising first home buyers so that people can get their foot on the property ladder, because it's actually a pretty important part of our retirement savings, owning your own home. I think looking at things like KiwiSaver and making sure that actually you can get a good return out of having your money in other forms of retirement savings than rental properties is important. On the issues of interest deductibility, that is all tied up with the overall approach to tax, including because if you're going to have a capital gains tax or some other form of tax in that area, then whatever you do with interest deductibility has to be compatible with that. So haven't made any decisions on what our future policy in that area might be.
Means testing for super?
The problem with means testing for super, if you look at it, you've got one of the highest rates of over 65s in the workforce.
We'll answer that in just a moment, because otherwise I think they're going to cut me off.
Hello Black Friday with Hello World Travel's exclusive mega sale. Enjoy flights and 4 nights in Fiji from only $1139 per person flying Fiji Airways. Save up to $400 on select coach tours worldwide and save over $6,000 per stateroom on an NCL Hawaiian cruise. Plus more incredible deals in store. Hurry, sale ends 8 December. Visit helloworld.co.nz or call 0800 75 87 87 today. T's and C's apply.
Hi, my name's Matt. Talk about how things can go from good to bad. I bought a little Italian greyhound. His name was Minnie. Everything was sweet. 6 months later, he broke his leg. The vet bill was $6,500. Luckily, I had pet insurance with Pet Insure. They picked up the bill. It was absolute genius. If you've got a pet, I strongly advise you to get pet insurance with Pet Insure.
Phone Pet Insure. 0800
huge super summer sale at Sailor Supplies. Their biggest sale of the year. Reel in huge deals on fishing gear with up to 50% off store-wide in Sailor Supplies super summer sale. Great brands including Shimano, Halco Lures, Black Magic, BKK and Nomad. Get your tackle box ready for summer and sort all your Christmas shopping for the family. Sale ends November 30th. Rush in store or shop online at sailors.co.nz. Sailor Supplies, your one-stop mega marine shop on Westhaven Drive.
Backyard cricket. It's part of a Kiwi summer, like a neighbourhood barbecue. And to make sure your summer BYC doesn't run out of gas, the Alternative Commentary Collective has teamed up with Rebel Sport and Silver Fern Sport to bring you the ultimate BYC kit. Perfect for Christmas gifting. Plus, we're passing it forward. With every kit you buy, another one goes to charity. So you're given twice this summer. Text SPORT to 3236 for a direct link to grab your kit.
Black Friday deals are on Brass Monkey portable fridge freezers with up to 50% off. Prices from $159 in store and online. Hurry while stocks last. Brass Monkey Black Friday deals are on now. Only at JCar. No ice. Nice.
Specsavers Black Friday sale is here. Get 50% off all lens options when purchasing 2 pairs from the 169 range or above. Hurry in store or online at Specsavers, as this deal will be over in the blink of an eye. Offer ends December 4. Conditions apply.
Well, I'm going to get a telling off when I come off here, so I'm just going to hand the 2 minutes over to you that we have.
Well, look, I mean, I'll answer that last question on retirement, whether we should means test the retirement age. And the challenge there is we've got one of the highest rates of over 65s in work in the OECD. And one of the reasons for that is if you don't own your own home, it's how you amass some retirement savings. You basically start claiming superannuation at 65, you save that while you're continuing to work, and then that's what gives you your nest egg to retire on. So if you started to means test it, you're potentially actually cutting out or even raise the age or whatever, you're actually potentially making the problem worse for some of those people who don't own their own home.
Gotcha.
So anyway, I guess it's the end of the year. So Kerre, Merry Christmas, and can you say Merry Christmas? It's still November though.
I know,
it just doesn't feel right.
In 4 weeks it'll be Boxing Day.
I know. Oh, that's a sobering thought. Goodness gracious. But look, I hope.
How's the year in opposition been?
It's been not too bad. Look, it's been good. We've gotten out and about around the country and had a chance to listen to people. When you lose an election, I said right at the beginning, you've actually got to take a breath. You've got to you got to listen. The voters in a democracy, voters are never wrong, and so you've got to get out there and listen to people. So, but I hope everybody has a great summer. I hope we get some good, nice, warm weather. I think the country deserves that. I think we're all just hanging out for a decent chance to go and lie at the beach and spend some time with kids and eat far too much food and and just really have a good break.
Yeah, do all the things that matter. You'll be getting a good break.
Yeah, I'm going to take a couple of weeks off, spend some time with the kids, bit of barbecuing down at the beach. Just generally relaxing.
Good. And we'll look forward to seeing you next year. It's kind of your song choice. You were led to this song choice.
I was led to the song because apparently somebody overheard me singing to it the other day. I mean, goodness gracious, that's trauma. They're going to need counselling for that.
Well, I got publicly castigated by the boss for daring to warble along to a Crowded House tune the other day, so we're in the same boat. We'll go out with Smash Proof featuring Gin Wigmore. The song is Brother. Thank you for your time this year, and thank you for your courtesy and for always being available to answer questions.
Thanks, Kerre. It's good fun.
News Talk ZB, it's 7 to 11.
I feel so alone. Why did you turn your back? Why did you go away? 'Cause you are my brother and you should have stayed.
Take your drive to the next level with Mercedes-Benz. Enjoy 0.99% interest on select models, like the new all-electric EQA and EQB SUV. Reserve online or visit an authorised retailer today. Terms and conditions apply.
Orange is the new Black Friday at Mighty Ape. Our biggest sale of the year is here. Go ape and save up to $200 off PlayStation 5 consoles this Black Friday. Shop at mightyape.co.nz.
The meatbox.co.nz, the meatbox, that's what I said. I don't want anything else instead. The meatbox.co.nz.
The Meatbox delivers delicious, succulent, mouth-watering meat and more fresh to your door. What's even better? You choose when it's delivered. This week, enjoy 10% off big cuts of meat, whole life fillet, point-end brisket, and more.
The Meatbox. talkback.co.nz.
Fresh meat delivered fresh to your door.
Hi, it's Tony Falkenstein, CEO of About Health, home of ResV, Lester's Oil and premium healthy aging supplements. I love our ZB listers and your stories about how our products have made such a difference in your lives. That's why I'm so excited to personally introduce our special Black Friday offer, something we've never done before. For a limited time, you can enjoy 20% off your favourite products and bundles. Just use the code TF20 when you call 0800 999 309 or visit abouthealth.co.nz. Read the label and use as directed.
Take a break from cooking because now you can jump online and order delicious Heat and Eat meals. The team at Eat create new menus every week. You just order the number of Heat and Eat meals you want by 11 a.m. and they're delivered to your door the next day. With no contracts or subscriptions, everyone's switching to delicious Heat and Eat meals delivered by Eat. See this week's new menu at eat.co.nz.
Eat.co.nz. The Alternative Commentary Collective, the only cricket commentary team to be thrown out of the World Cup.
Neesham outside the line of the off stump. He's bowled well to Stoinis, despite the fact he has a punishing name.
And a punishing hairdo.
The Alternative Commentary Collective Summer of Cricket. Listen live and free on iHeartRadio.
Begins November 28th. Text cricket to 3236 for the full schedule.
It's totally unfiltered. Brought to you by Razine, NZ's most trusted paint.
In Auckland on 89.4, this is News Talk ZB. Mike Hosking, Ryan Bridge, Marcus Lush, Jason Pine, all the names you can trust. This is News Talk ZB News.
It's 11 o'clock, I'm Malcolm Jordan. Former National MP Nikki Kay has died aged 44 after a long battle with cancer. A friend told our newsroom she was in great form a few months ago but went downhill quickly. Kay was 28 when she entered Parliament in 2008. She served as Auckland Central MP from then until 2020 and also held positions in Cabinet. News Talk ZB's senior political correspondent Barry Soper says Kay was very popular in Auckland.
She was a young politician, but an ambitious politician. She was driven and made cabinet at a young age as well.
In September 2016, she took sick leave from the House for breast cancer treatment, returning in early 2017. Kay was Deputy